the last few weeks, we've been talking in our teaching series about lies. And not just any lie, but the lies we believe, the ones we take for granted. Some of them have been, I think, for me, as I've reflected on them, have actually helped shape my year. I pray maybe it has been for you, for those who've been able to be a part of those. If you haven't, go to our website, go to our Facebook page. They're out there. I think it could help you in your faith. The lie that we're talking about today, I think, is a huge one. It's one that I am guessing for a lot of us, we battle this one. It's, you deserve the best. So in some ways, this is a beautiful thing, right? To say we have worth. We deserve not only good things, but great things. So we're going to look for those. But then we're confronted with Jesus and the words he has for some Pharisees. And we have to set the stage here. I think this is vital as we look at this. Now, for those of you who don't know, there's 4 accounts of Jesus in our Bible: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And in this account, what has happened right before in this text, I think is a big thing, and it involves a Pharisee. Now, for those of you who have read the accounts of Jesus and do know your Bible in big and small ways, you know the Pharisees are not always painted in the best picture. In fact, many times they look like enemies to us as we hear these accounts. It seems like they come in and they're wearing like the classic black cowboy hat and twirling dastardly mustaches and going like this a lot. But honestly, I think there are a lot of good people that are charged, actually, and their role with God's people is this: to help others understand the law that God has given them, and to help them in that makes their relationship with God better. And so that's what they're charged with. And they were mentors and models, and they would also help correct and keep people accountable. Good people, most of them. And yet again and again and again, what we see is Jesus actually being challenged by them in some really hard ways. Because Jesus and what he represents changes everything, especially for these Pharisees. So this is what's happening. One of the Pharisees, it says this: on one occasion when Jesus was going to the house of a leader of the Pharisees, not just any Pharisee, but a leader of them, to eat a meal on the Sabbath, hear these words: they were watching him closely. You get that? Who's watching him closely? The Pharisees are. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't feel like I meet a lot of Pharisees. I definitely don't see people in black cowboy hats in churches and outside, and they seem to be, just doing the kind of, it seems like terrible things that happen to Jesus and to the disciples and to others through these seeming crooks. I don't see that. But then I start to look at what's going on with the Pharisees, and then I can start to relate. You know, when I was little, Danny Dornfeld was smaller than everyone in his class when I was growing up. I was always the smallest, the shortest, the tiniest, if you can believe that. I did not have muscles, and I had hair. And all of these people around me were bigger, and honestly, can you believe it? A small, short Danny was a target for bullies. It made my childhood interesting, to say the least, at times. The Pharisees seem like bullies. When Jesus comes, they have a way. They have a way that they've said that is the way to do it, and Jesus just throws all of that up in the air, and they can't handle it, and he becomes their target. And so they do bully him again and again and again. A few of them, not all of them. And so I think some of the account that we see of it, it's justifiable. They're twisting things, they're changing it, and they're looking at him closely. Have you had that in your life? Have you had seemingly good people seem to look at you closely, waiting to trip you up, even good, strong Christians? I have, and I do. And then it starts to resonate that bullies are not just here, named Pharisees, but they're even here. And I think this is what Jesus is reacting to so strongly. So he sees that. He sees the bully, and the bully is watching him, trying to trip him up, and hoping that at some point Jesus is going to do something so crazy that then they can kill him, because he presents such a threat to everything, to their power, to their prestige, to their status. This is not how life should go, and this is not how faith should go. And yet Jesus is so different. So he knows this, they're watching, so he shares with them a parable. He's been invited to a party, and so he's observing things, and he's telling them, well, when you come to a party like this one, I notice that people come where the host is going to sit, and let's pretend this is the table, the altar, and the host would be right here. And the people that feel like they're the most important, they would sit down before the host would get there. It's at his house, but he's mingling and hanging out with others. And what they would do is, he noticed the most important people, the Pharisees' friends, Joe's buddies, the ones that everyone else looked up to, the ones with the biggest paychecks. You know where they sat? Not at the far ends of the table away from Joe. They sat to either side and right across from him. And the ones that were less important, the ones that others might pick on, would invite, but only just to invite. They hung out on the edges. And so Jesus talks to them about, and it's an important lesson, and if you take it at face value, it almost sounds like just be socially savvy. He says this: if you go to a party, you're invited there, don't just automatically assume you're going to be in the place of honor. Don't just assume you get the best spot. Go actually and go on the ends. You know, the part where, like the version of Holidays, the kids' table. He's like, go to the kids' table, hang out there, and then at some point the host, Joe's going to come up and he's going to say, hey, what are you doing? Come on, John, come up here. And then everyone will honor you. If he left it there, that'd be a nice moral, right? Know your audience, and boy, be humble. It's nice. But I think there's something deeper here. It reminds me, some of our congregation members in the last couple of years, they went to a Garth Brooks concert in the cities. And they got there early, and they had the nosebleed section. They're way up, and it's the cheap seats, and they're just hanging out there. Almost no one is around them. And then they notice, like, one of the staff comes up and sits right next to them, and they're like, "That's weird." And he starts talking to them, and after a little bit, he said, "Hey, you guys are Garth Brooks fans?" And he's like, "Absolutely." He's like, you're up here, why don't you come down to the front row with me? We're going to set you up, and we're going to let you enjoy the concert from the front row. They're like, are you being serious? Now, I'm not a big country fan myself, but I'm like, Garth Brooks, you got the front row? They did. They'd had the cheap seats. They'd been way out there with the people that couldn't afford the very best, and yet they've been brought down to the very best seat to enjoy the show. Now, I'm wondering today, like in our church, where's the prime seats? It's right in the front, right? I don't know why you guys aren't screaming ahead like Pastor Taylor. It seems like to me, as I look, these first front rows are kind of empty, brave souls over here. Where are the prime seats? The places of honor? I'm guessing it's some of you back there. What if I said, oh, your place of honor, that's so good. Why don't you guys come on up here? Come on up. No, you sure? So in our life, I wonder, are we expecting the very best seats of every single thing? Are we expecting that we deserve every single good thing, and the bad things that happen are curses and punishment, and they're deserved for people that are lesser, not us? Or is there something deeper going on? I'm tempted to think about Garth Brooks, one of his biggies, what's Friends in Low Places? Boy, that changes things when you've been in the nosebleed and you're brought way to the bottom, to the choice ones. But Jesus is talking about something much deeper. He says, don't just hope that in a party you're going to be in the nosebleed sections and then all at once the host will bring you down and give you that honor. No, he said, it's completely different. And then he focuses his attention on the host himself. And what he tells him is, when you invite, don't just invite those who are closest with you, those who will give you something in return. He said, what I need you to do is invite those that no one else would. Invite the ones that have been bullied and picked on. the ones that can't walk, the ones that are hurting. That starts to speak to me in new ways, that I don't need to automatically feel like I deserve the best, but actually because Jesus loves me so much that others in the cheap seats of life, they deserve to hear that too. For those of you who have been bullied in any time in life, I'm sorry. I know what it does to your value and your worth. For those of you who have been in a church and been bullied, maybe even this one, I am sorry. What Jesus talks about, what he is focused on so much, is those who are hurting in any kind of way that have no voice. And today we need to confront this lie that we don't just deserve the best, and those that don't get the best, well, they've done it to themselves. What Jesus says is invite those, walk alongside those, help those with everything we can, change the whole thing. Because the bullies have no place for that. Those who think life and faith and church should be a certain way, and when Jesus gets in that way, then they do something different. They have no place in that, except grace and forgiveness. And so as we confront this lie together, I just wonder, if you look at your life, can you look at the friends in low places? Those people that maybe aren't even friends. And that maybe together we can reshape this life together. And we can do it only with God, the one who says, you are worth so much, you are so valuable. Whatever's hurting, I took it on myself on that cross. Did you see what was shared so beautifully in Philippians 2, that first text? Is so incredible. It's life-changing. It says Jesus, who did deserve the best, is what Paul tells us. He writes this. He says he deserved everything. He was God. He was equal with God. But he says, you know what he did? Instead of saying I have the place of honor and taking every single thing upon myself, he actually emptied himself. He changed the rules. He became not just the one that everyone went to and gave everything towards. He actually went to the lowest denominator. He became the form of a slave, he says, and became obedient to death, because he was even in charge of that. Even death on a cross. On that cross, he thought of you. So let's go out together, knowing our Savior's leading every step of the way, to be voices for those that don't have a voice, to share love with those who have no love, and to invite those that truly need grace and forgiveness in life. And all God's people said,